This lesson will go from this to this to this in less than 30 minutes. This project uses Construct 3 as the game engine, and I will walk you through how to set it up, the movement, controls, enemy projectiles, and the pickup counter. Let's get right into it. To start this project, we're gonna go to editor, construct.net, editor.construct.net in your browser. Then it will load. Basically, this is the welcome page to the engine. You can create a new file or open an existing project. There's beginner's guide. There's an arcade of games made with this engine and cool examples if you want to take a look at what can be made with this engine. But for now, we're just gonna click new. We're gonna name this first game. We're gonna choose 1080p landscape and create. So this is the interface. We have a few things here. We have the layout, the main layout, which is where the objects of the game will be placed. You can run the layout by pressing this button. It opens the game and runs it. Over here we have the project bar, where it has the elements of the game. It can have the layout, the sprites, everything that goes inside the game goes in this bar. And the properties bars has properties of the object. So the layout, if I click layout, it will show me properties of the layout. If I would have something else, it will show me the properties of that object. Now I'm gonna explain what objects are. Objects are entities that function in a way within our game. So it could be a UI element, a text, a sprite, and so on and so forth. Now, if you know how to right click, if you know how to left click, if you know how to scroll, that's all you need to make games in Construct 3. So I'm going to show you what the basic object, which is the most basic object that we use in Construct 3, which is the sprite object. So I'm going to right click, insert new object. Here we have a full list of all the object types that Construct 3 supports out of the box. It has things related to data, to graphics, to HTML elements, input, media, monetization, and other assorted objects. But for now, we only need a sprite object. And it will open the sprite editor, where you can draw like any drawing software. And you can fill, you can switch to transparent, you can pick colors, you can right click, save primary color or save secondary color. This is gonna come in handy very soon. And yeah, you can bring pictures into here. You can grab pictures from your computer and bring it into the canvas. And yeah, so this is the object placed in the layout, and here are I'm just gonna color it to be able to see it. So you can shrink the object by using these corners or this way. You notice that the size of the object changes. So right now is 269 width by 268 height. If I stretch it, we can see that the size has increased. You can change the color and do many things. Basically, that's almost everything you need to know to get started with this project. But I'm going to show you the last piece, event sheet. The event sheet is where the logic or the event blocks live. So basically the code or the logic of your game. You can create events which represent actions that are going to take place in your game, behaviors and actions that are going to take place in your game. So I'm going to click add event, system, and here the system conditions are all the conditions and actions that represent within your machine or the Construct 3 engine itself. So these are operations that the engine can make by itself. And the sprite also has its conditions. So you can compare a frame, you can check if it's between an angle, you can check if it's visible, you can check if the height is lower, greater, or equal to a number, and so on and so forth. Every object type has its different conditions. They're unique to each object because the keyboard conditions are going to be different than a sprite. So yeah, the last thing I'm gonna explain in this short explanation is behaviors. Behaviors can be found by clicking an object and going to behaviors. Add new behavior. The behaviors are pre-written objects, pre-written behaviors that you can attach to your sprite or your object. So this is like preset code that you can use that saves you a lot of time when you're creating games. So if I add this behavior, it will make my object draggable. I want it to flash. I want it to have line of sight. I want the camera to always scroll to the object. I want to add a timer. I want to wrap it around the layout. Bullet, 8 direction. This is movement, so on and so forth. So that's about it in terms of the interface. This is all we need for now. Let's move on to the next lesson. Alright, let's get right into it. So the first thing we need is a sprite or an object that can work as our player. I'm just gonna right click, insert new object. I'm gonna search for sprite, and I'm gonna choose a blue color. Since this is a top-down perspective, I'm just gonna make it a little bit more rectangular and shrink it down a little bit. Now I have my character. How do I make this move? So as we said before, behaviors are pre-written scripts and of course behaviors, the word says it, that can be applied to an object. So I'm gonna search for 8 directional movement. So this simplifies the process for us a little bit. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, but in a further lesson we'll show you how to create your movement from scratch. So if I use the play button and use the arrow keys, I already got movement. So this is already like 10% of this game. Then I'm gonna, here are the properties of the 8 direction behavior. I'm gonna put the max speed to 750 and test. So I feel it a bit floaty, and I might want something a bit more rigid. So I'm just gonna put 400. Now we need a pickup item. So I'm gonna right click, insert new object, sprite, and choose this secondary color. And yep, I got my pickup, which will later change the image to a jewel. Now we need to code, and we need to let this object know, let the game know that these two have collided. So I'm gonna go to the event sheet. Every layout, I made an extra layout so I can have the before and after. So this is layout 2 and it has event sheet 2, but you can right click, add layout, and or just build it in layout 1 like this game, but I'm in layout 2, so it should have event sheet 2. So now I go to create an event, which is the logic of the game. I'm gonna choose a system expression, and that system expression is every x seconds. So that means we can add a formula here that determines the time that elapses for that event to repeat. And I'm gonna use a function that is a system expression that's similar to a behavior, but is doing a calculation. And that is gonna be random parentheses, and I can put something between 3, 6. So that means every random seconds between is going to choose between 3 and 6. It could be 3.8, 4.5, 5.3. It's going to choose a number in between, and when that number elapses, it's going to make the effect of that event. So every random 3 to 6 seconds, I'm gonna create object, and that object is gonna be my prototype sprite. Here I have the layer, which we only have one for now, and the X and Y position. X is the horizontal position, Y is the vertical position. And I'm gonna use another formula, which is sprite3.x. That means choose the current X position, the horizontal position of the player sprite, plus, and I'm gonna put random parentheses -400, +400. So this is a math equation. It's telling you every random 3 to 6 seconds, so it's gonna choose maybe 4.5, 6, or 3.8. It's gonna choose the horizontal position, and it's gonna add a random value from -400 to +400. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the Y position, but I'm gonna change this to Y. So it's gonna choose the sprite's vertical position, and it's gonna add -400 and 400. And I think these values are too short, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. 700, 700. And let's test it out. So there's one. There's another one. There's another one. And we can see it works. So if I change this to 1 and 3, it's gonna be faster. So that way you can fine-tune the game to whatever you want it to be. That's it for this lesson. The next lesson we'll figure out how to add collisions and make and destroy the pickup object when collided with. In this lesson, we're gonna make the player collide with the pickup item and destroy it on collision. We're also gonna make some aesthetic changes and rename the objects so we're more organized. The first thing I'm gonna do is click the player and rename him player. I always suggest we do this, always, in every project. Name every object, every instance, everything, always rename it. This is gonna be collectible, and that way we don't have to worry about organization or losing ourselves during the process. Now I'm gonna add an event. I'm gonna choose my player, and I'm gonna search for collision with another object right here, and I'm gonna choose collectible. So this line of code is gonna run every time the player collides with that collectible. I'm gonna choose the collectible, and I'm gonna destroy it. So this instance that we're referring in the action is being picked from the collision. So it's not gonna target any other of the collectibles on screen, but we'll only pick the one that has been collided with. And let's see, something else that I want to do. Let's test it first. So we're about 35 to 40% ready with this game. There we go. I want to add a visual effect to the collectible, so I'm gonna go to the collectible and I'm gonna type is on screen. So every collectible that is on screen, I'm gonna add an action is to set size. So I'm gonna refer to itself, sprite.width minus 1, and I'm gonna use, it's not sprite, it's collectible dot width minus 1, and here I'm gonna put collectible dot height minus 1. So every tick or every moment the collectible is on screen, we're gonna shrink it by -1, the width and the height. Again, this is going to pick the ones that are on screen. But what happens? When it goes past 0, it keeps growing in the opposite direction. And we want it to stop on 1 or destroy it when the width is about 2 or 1 pixels. So I'm going to choose the collectible and compare width. A comparison detects if a value matches another, and if it does, it's going to run the action. And the comparisons are equal to, not equal to, less than, less or equal, greater than, greater or equal. In this case, I need a less than comparison. I'm just gonna put 2. So when the collectible's width is less than 2, destroy. So now we have a mini game where if you don't reach in time, the opportunity to grab the collectible fades away. So you have to be faster. Now -1 is too fast, so I'm gonna put 0.5 and 0.5. So now it gives us enough time to reach, barely, I would say. So this needs tuning, depends on how hard you want to make the game. So now I'm going to show you something that's very important, and that is variables. So if we had many instances of the size, which is collectible.width -5, or this number 0.5, and we need to change it in many parts of the code. If we had it like this, we need to change it every action. So in that case, I'm going to use a variable. I'm going to add a global variable, and a global variable is a placeholder for a data type, a storage, like a folder that holds a data. And the data can be a boolean, which is true or false, a trigger, that's why it creates a check mark, a number, and it could be an integer or a float. It could be 0.5, it could be 3, 0.6, and a string, which is letters. I'm gonna name this collectible size. I'm gonna put a number, and I'm gonna put 0.5. So in that case, I put width minus collectible size, height minus collectible size. So if I had this in many places, I only need to edit this number and it will propagate all across the code. I can do this with this, also with this variable, but I think I'm only going to use it once, so it's not that rigorous compared to this one. And now we're gonna add graphics to this. So I'm gonna pick my layer and choose a floor color that's kind of, I like sort of this color. And I'm gonna go to menu, view, bars, asset browser, and I'm gonna put this right here. This has free assets that are, I think they're from the Kenny library. Kenny's shout out to Kenny. He creates Creative Commons art, and is where I got this art from, which is already within Construct 3 as a default. It ships with this. So I'm gonna bring the character blue and I drag him in. I'm gonna resize him a little bit, and green jewel. So I'm gonna put it like this. We can do this two kinds of way. I recreate everything with these new sprites and replace this with the new sprites, or I can just click, grab everything, go here and paste. And I'm gonna resize him a little bit. Now I can destroy this one. I go here, I grab the jewel, copy it, and let me select all. There we go. And now it looks more like a game. Boom. I feel the blue character is a bit big. It's way too big, so I'm gonna shrink him. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we are gonna add a counter and the first instance of enemies. Alright, in this lesson, we're gonna learn how to make the monkey enemy spawn and shoot spikes from top down, right, left and right. For that, we need a projectile, which I have right here, which is just a triangle. To make that, you just go like this. Let me grab a darker color. Like this. Like this. And then fill it. And there we go. We have to also talk about image points. Image points are one or more points in the image that help us programmatically add or spawn things at a certain point. The origin point, which it's usually in the middle, but I'm gonna align it to the far left. It's gonna dictate from what area does it spawn from. So I'm gonna grab this here, and from what area does it rotate. I'm gonna open the monkey, and I need 4 spawn points, one for each direction that we want to spawn the spike from. So I'm gonna go to the image points. Image points can be found right here in this button. I'm gonna add an image point, add an image point, right? And there we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 image points, and the origin, which is 0. I'm gonna go to number 1 and put it over here. I'm gonna go to number 2, put it over here. 3 here, 4 here. So in this part, in this event, when the width is almost 2 pixels, less than 2 pixels, I'm gonna spawn 4 spikes. Let me rename the spikes. Spike. Alright, and I'm gonna go to add action, click monkey 2, spawn another object, and then spike. Image point 1. Then and make sure it's above destroy, because if it destroys it cannot spawn. So I'm gonna spawn 1, 2, 3, 4 spikes. Image point 2. Image point 3. Image point 4. Now the thing is, it's not gonna rotate the angle of the spike if we don't tell it to. So we have to, for each one, rotate it the right amount of degrees. So I'm just gonna go to the spike, set angle. I'm gonna put spike.angle minus 90. Then this one doesn't need to be changed. This one needs to be plus 180. Let me verify. The third image point is down below, so the spike must be 90. 90. And the last one I think is 180. Let's verify. Yep. So now, when the jewel gets destroyed, and the monkey gets destroyed, yep, there we go. But there's an error, because I was using the old spike, which is already working, and that will not work for you because you won't have this behavior. Let me just destroy this, just to show you how it will show for you. Now the monkey is gonna get destroyed, and that's what's gonna happen for you. Now all I have to do is go to the spike, add a behavior, add a bullet behavior. Add a bullet behavior, and that's about it. And there we go. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to hurt the player and create a game over screen. Alright, let's get on with the last part of the lesson, of the tutorial. What's left to do is to hurt the player with the spikes and call a game over screen when it happens, and maybe render the score. So now we need to figure out what we need to make the hurt mechanic, the HP mechanic. So the first thing we need is an image of maybe a heart, because I'm gonna try to do it in a Zelda kind of way. So I'm gonna search here in the asset browser heart, grab the PNG. I'm gonna edit a little bit. I'm gonna make this wider, so I'm gonna put 300. I'm gonna put image align top left, okay. Then just copy this and paste again. Copy paste to make it 3 times. I'm gonna go to speed and put 0. This way our animation doesn't play when it's rendering. Then I'll copy this 2 times. I'll go to the second frame, erase this one. I'll go to the third frame, erase this too. And then I'm gonna make one more just that way. And I'm gonna change this here, this here. I'm also gonna create a clone object type. So this does not create an instance, it creates a complete new object but with the same graphics as this one. I'm gonna put this here. Yep, that's pretty much it. And now I need to give a variable but that belongs to the player. So I'm going to do instant variables, HP. That means that I created a variable that belongs to this instance of this object. I'm going to put it to 3. Now, I'm going to check. I'm going to grab the player. And I'm going to put collision with another object. And I'm going to choose the spike. And I'm going to choose the player. Subtract from HP 1. And I'm also going to choose the heart. This heart. And set frame. Self.frame plus 1. Self.animation frame plus 1. We also have to destroy this. Now all that is left to do, now I'm going to teach you how to use layers, is to create a layer above, maybe with a solid color that's like gray. Insert new object, text. And put maybe 84. No, bigger. I'm gonna put it like 200. Perfect. I'm gonna write game over. I'm gonna grab this instance of the jewel, which is collectible 2. And since this text is already displaying the count, I'm gonna just copy paste it here, but I'm gonna change its width to 72. Now here in the properties, I'm gonna make the initial visible and initial visible and initial interactive. I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna compare our player's instance variable if it's equal to 0. Then we're gonna go set layer visibility. It's layer 1 to visible. We're gonna wait 5 seconds, and then we're gonna refresh the layout, restart the layout, and now we're gonna put add event start. We're gonna go to system, start of layout, set value, jewel, I think it's jewel count. Let me see if I'm right. Yeah, you will count to 0. And in start of layout, we have to fix something. We have to turn layer visible, layer 1 invisible, and we have to change the frame to 0. And now everything should be done. So yeah, that concludes the tutorial. I'm gonna make a second series of this same course that will show a little bit of how to enhance the graphics and make it more fun to play, but we won't change anything of the code that we already have. Thanks for watching.